Hi guys, welcome to another LivinginSAtv video. David and Copano here guys, and today we are going to teach you or show you or inform you about the history of Sophiatown guys. Again, stay tuned because once again this video will blow your mind. Okay guys, so what is interesting about Sophiatown is quite an interesting place because during the apartheid era and the Group of Areas Act, many people were forcibly removed from this place. So we're just going to show you the church and the two houses that survived that time, and people that were against apartheid like Nelson Mandela and people like Trevor Huddleston, the priest of the area, had a huge influence on this area, and this is what we're going to talk about guys.
Okay, hello everybody, my name is Copano and I'm from the Joburg Heritage. And we are now in Sophiatown, a very popular place in Johannesburg. So Sophiatown is a very vibrant multicultural area. It began in the early 20th century, and it was a farm portion discovered by Mr. Tobinsky, and he named the place after his wife. And he also named the streets after his kids. So the idea was to build a place where everyone can all come and live together without any racial constraints. So right here we are presented by a mural that shows the timeline of Sophiatown and the great artists that lived in Sophiatown. And as you can see, there's a timeline here. There's Gerard Sikoto, the famous Gerard Sikoto. And as we move along, we have Trevor Huddleston, who has his center over here. We'll be showing you shortly. And then moving right along, we have Dolly Ratebe. She was a very famous singer in Sophiatown. Then we have Jacken Skalbeck, Bob Kosani, and Henry Xuma over there. They used to do drum magazine. They are famous photographers, and yeah, they documented a lot of Sophiatown during its heydays, you know. Then we move right along, we have Henry Xuma. And then we have the famous Don Matero, who was a very famous artist in Sophiatown. He was born and bred in Sophiatown. And then we have the famous gangsters. This is a portrait of the famous gangsters that used to be in Sophiatown. It was the gangster. They call themselves American gangsters. So this is how they used to present themselves and how they dress and everything. They were very notorious, you know. And then as we move along, we have this famous picture. This is actually derived from a picture that says, "We won't move." The people were resisting, they were forced removals of Sophiatown, and they said they won't move. However, the apartheid government did manage to actually move them, and so you can see there's a cut there. This is where the transition begins, where Sophiatown becomes Triumph. So they wanted to make an all-white area and call it Triumph without any black people living in Sophiatown. And then all the people were moved to these locations over here, which is it's Meadowlands, Lenasia, and Eldorado Park. So they segregated people according to the ethnic groups. So the Indian people went to Lenasia, most of the black population went to Meadowlands, Pimville, and so on. And then the colored community went to Eldorado Park, Westbury, just to name a few. And then here we have the famous King Kong. It was a play, a very famous play. It was developed here in Sophiatown, it's a product of Sophiatown as well. And then there was a ton of events. There was the national elections in 1994 that took place, and I guess that's when everybody saw it possible to reclaim the identity of Sophiatown, and then they came back to Sophiatown. And this is an image that was taken in 2006. This was the vibrancy when it was celebrations when the name was recalled to be Sophiatown once again. And used to be Triumph, now Sophiatown. And this is the end of the film. This is where everybody is happy to be back in Sophiatown, you know. As you can see, there's Todd Matsigiza, one of the editors, drum editors as well. And yeah, So everything that you've seen outside here is pretty much a representation of what's inside the museum, inside the Dr. A.B. Xuma House Museum. So you see some of the images that are here as portraits that are visible inside, and they tell a broader story. So let's just take a look inside. Okay, this section of the portrait shows Dr. Alfred Bitini Xuma, who used to own this house here, which is a house where the ANC Youth League was actually born. You know, this was a famous doctor in the neighborhood, and he used to do his doctor practices here. He used to have a surgery here actually. And over here is his wife, Melody Hall Xuma, and this was Dr. A.B. Xuma's wife, and she was very involved in the Women's League, you know. And over here is the blue plug developed by the Johannesburg Heritage, and yeah, it pretty much shows you information about what took place in the place, and it's one of our initiatives as the city. And over here we have the famous Miriam Makeba. I think we all know Miriam Makeba, very famous singer, very famous, dated a lot of famous people also. And as we move along, as you can see, there's a Rainbow Nation pretty much. The flag of South Africa just spreads out as Hugh Masekela blows it out, the new South African flag, as you can see over here. And yeah. Actually, this church is here in Sophiatown. It's one of the structures that survived the first demolitions. This church survived the first demolitions and first removals. Yeah. Over there at the top, those are the names of the kids, Dr. Tobinski's kids. All the names of Sophiatown are over there. So they're still present even today.
Oh wow.
They're still there.
Okay, let's see the rest.
Okay, so welcome to the Trevor Huddleston Memorial Center. We are an NPO/NGO, which stands for a non-governmental organization. This foundation was started in 1998 in memoriam of Father Trevor Huddleston, a very well-known Anglican priest who fought in the anti-apartheid struggle. This building itself was constructed between the years of 2014 to 2015 and opened officially in 2015. And we focus primarily on community outreach programs like mentorship programs for young women, a library project upstairs, and we also do venue hire. So we are in collaboration with also the Don Matera Legacy Foundation. Don Matera, as you may know, was a very well-known South African poet who lived here in Sophiatown before the forced removals. So the purpose of this building is really to make residents of Sophiatown and Johannesburg and South Africa at large aware of the heritage of Sophiatown and the really rich cultural history that we have here.
Okay, now we're in front of the Dr. A.B. Xuma House, now a museum, and it was recently opened last year. And famous figures like Nelson Mandela, your famous politicians used to come in and out of this house for meetings with Dr. A.B. Xuma, who was then the ANC president. And so now we're gonna go inside the house and see how the museum looks like. Okay, now we are inside the Dr. A.B. Xuma house, and this side of the house is showcasing the famous Trevor Huddleston, who was the pastor at the Church of King Christ, which is still present even today. I think we'll be visiting it also a bit later today. This tower was built by him just to show that everybody is welcome into Sophiatown, and it's a very huge landmark. You can see it in all corners of Sophiatown. It's a very famous landmark, and the church also is one of the structures that survived the first demolitions and the first removals, and it still stands even today. Moving right along, this side of you is seen from the outside. We won't move was what the people said. And this is the picture you've seen from the outside, and this side of the room shows early Sophiatown, when Sophiatown was a multiracial society. And as you move along, you can see here how people built their houses. And this picture over here, that's when the forced removal started, when people were when the police entered people's houses to forcefully remove them. And over here, these are the houses where people will move to, and these houses are in Midlands, already built by the native government. So everybody who got displaced was being transferred to these houses over here. And as you can see, this side, people are packing their things as they're leaving, and they're forcefully removed from their dwellings. Not pleasant to see. There's another interesting room. Let's go to Dr. Xuma's surgery. Can you come this side? Okay, this side is Dr. Xuma's office, surgery, where he did his practices. And as you can see, this is his bed for his patients, consultation table, and everything he needs.
So this is where Nelson Mandela used to come to get
advice. Usually, Nelson Mandela came here to have discussions with him since Dr. Xuma was then the president of the ANC. So they used to come here and discuss and see developments of how they can make a better country. You know, very famous figures like Ahmed Kadrada have been here as well. I mean, all the freedom struggles have been here. So, as I mentioned before, this is where the ANC Youth League was born in this house, led by the Nelson Mandela.
Okay, cool.
Then over here is the early photographs of the house when Dr. Xuma was still residing here. However, unfortunately also got removed from this house, and then the house was bought by another family. And the reason why the house never got demolished is because of its status and how much it means to the society and its reuse, what it could be used for in the future. And yeah, it was a very beautiful big house for a black man during those days, you know, living such a big house. So I think that's the reason why it got preserved, similar to one house down the road called the Ghost House in Sophiatown. And yeah, it's one of the two structures that survived the demolitions that reside in this street. It's only the Dr. Xuma house and the proclaimed Ghost House. Those are the two houses that are only remaining in Sophiatown.
Okay guys, so now we are walking down Sophiatown. As you guys see, it was important on the struggle against apartheid, and many important figures from the ANC were actually meeting specifically on the house that we just showed you guys. Now we're going to show you guys what they call a ghost house, but it's not a ghost house because it's haunted, but I will reveal you guys the reason.
Okay, now we're at the Dr. Nanabai house, which is called the ghost house because of its appearance. And this house was owned by Dr. Nanabai, who was a trader in Sophiatown when he was still busting Sophiatown. And this house actually carries a lot of history about Sophiatown since it was used for many reasons, you know. It also contains a hospital inside, not a hospital, surgery inside. And there's a mortuary and a holding cell inside, all inside this house. And the reason why this house remains like this is because the current owner decided that this house carries so much history and it has so much artifacts inside that if she had upgraded the house, then it would have attracted a lot of people and a lot of criminals. So she decided to leave the house like this. And the story about the house is that Dr. Nanabai was a very famous trader, and he had these kids. He used to live with his kids in this house. And the reasons behind the house surviving the demolitions is because of Dr. Nanabai's status in this area. He used the house for managing criminals, since services like police stations and things like that were not present around the place. So all the unlawful people were kept here, and everybody who needed medical services was also assisted here. So this is the house that carries a very, very, very huge amount of history of Sophiatown, and it is currently one of the only two houses that survived demolitions after Dr. A.B. Xuma house. This is the only house that remains, and the other structures are only churches. Okay, Sophiatown is a very interesting area due to its history and how it has survived so many unfortunate circumstances. I mean, for example, Sophiatown was once a multicultural area where a white man bought the farm and then allowed black people to all reside in this land at really cheap rates. And then later on, the government saw the growing population in the area, and then the Group Areas Act decided they must remove everyone from Sophiatown to the southwestern townships so that Sophiatown can be completely white, you know. However, people were still allowed into the city using their dompas because of a demand of black labor. You know, there was a rise in black labor and people still needed to come back to the city. So that's the reason why Sophiatown becomes very interesting. However, a turn in events took place when the first black president of South Africa was elected, which is Nelson Mandela, and then Sophiatown was reclaimed to become what it is today. Today, Sophiatown is back to being a multicultural area and still accommodates everybody who had left in this place. And some of the black people who had left previously and forcefully removed, have made efforts to rebuy their houses and reclaim their space in Sophiatown, and this is what Sophiatown is today. However, as you can see, the houses are not that old, still very present architectural styles as a result of the new houses that were built. And as you can see, the difference between the houses that we've shown you, the other houses are very old, the structures are very big, they're very big houses, very open space, as compared to the new dwellings that are now present.
Okay guys, so this is the third structure that survived the Sophiatown demolition, so I'm gonna let Kopano tell the story.
Now we're at a church called Christ the King, which is one of the churches in Sophiatown that survived these forced demolitions. And as you can see over here, this is the space where Trevor Huddleston was laid to rest. His ashes were laid to rest here. And there's 3 pillars over here. The 3 pillars don't have any meaning. They're meant to be put there and for you to put in the meaning for them. And as you can see from our museum, the tower still present and in full shape, still standing tall in Sophiatown. In the past, this church was adjacent to a school. There used to be a school just adjacent to the church, but then that was all forcefully removed and everything was left behind. And now the church welcomes all the people still coming here from Sophiatown. Even the people that used to live here and got forcefully removed and went to Sophiatown still come to this church from all the way in Meadowlands. And as you can see, it's a Anglican church. Very old bricks are being used inside the church. Unfortunately, not going inside the church. There's a representation of the Black Jesus. You can see the Black Jesus inside the church and an individual blowing a vuvuzela, and this is the result of the 2010 World Cup. When the 2010 World Cup took place, this church was then gifted with a mural of Black Jesus.